Hey guys, it's Hunter with You Don't Know Ball. Today I'm going to be looking at Bucky Brooks Mock Draft 1.0. It just dropped on NFL.com at 11 o'clock this morning. Today is the 22nd, so I haven't looked at this mock draft at all. I'm just going to be kind of looking at it, going through it, reviewing it. Yeah, I figured I was going to do Daniel Jeremiah's, but I'm a couple days late on that, so this is the newest one, so let's just get right into it. At number one, we have Caleb Williams. If you're a Bears fan, I'm sure this is either going to excite you a lot or upset you. I'm a Bears fan. I want them to select Caleb Williams, but I know there's a lot of Bears fans clamoring to keep Justin Fields. I mean, at this point, you're gifted the number one pick. You're a 7-win team. You have a ton of cap space going into the offseason and two top 10 picks in this draft. I don't see how you don't take the quarterback, whether it is May or Williams. I would side Williams. Obviously, in the number two slot, you have the Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders, I would say more than likely are going to take quarterback. I believe no everyone expects them to. May obviously is the next best prospect here on the list for quarterbacks. So that really isn't much of a surprise. You have a lot of options. So if you did want to trade the pick, obviously Sam Howell can run it for another season. I don't know if he's the future, but he's more than capable to play in the NFL. All right, number three. This is kind of where the draft really starts. We have Jaden Daniels for the New England Patriots. Um, this I don't hate. I don't hate it. And I would not be surprised if this was the case. Gerard Mayo basically said that in his opening press conference as the head coach that they need to get better at the position basically, and it seems like they're going to be taking quarterback. I don't think Jane Daniels is the wrong choice here. I mean, I don't know who else you would take at three. You could always trade back and try to get like a late first round or mid first round quarterback, gather some assets, build up your offense. But Jane Daniels here at three, not a bad option. I think if you're gonna go any of the quarterbacks outside of Williams and May, he is the guy to take. Going four, we have the Arizona Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, does this really surprise guys? I mean, like, he is the best prospect in the draft. People obviously have him higher than Caleb Williams, but because of the quarterback tax, he's not going to go one. He's not going to go two when they have these top quarterbacks on the board. I could see him going three, though, just because, if the Patriots did want to go a route where they, take a wide receiver and then take a quarterback next year. I mean, I don't know. Like, he is a generational talent, and you don't want to pass up on him. But in my opinion, I think this is more likely how the draft is going to go, with Marvin Harrison Jr. falling to the Arizona Cardinals. Next, we have Brock Bowers to the Los Angeles Chargers at five. I think this is like a really popular pick, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they went tackle. To get like the best tackle prospect in the draft and pair him up with Rashawn Slater, you're protecting Justin Herbert for the next 10, 15 years. And yeah, I don't think a tackle is a flashy pick, but you can never go wrong really with the top 10 tackle unless they bust. I mean, these all could be busts, but Brock Bowers, he's not really like, he is a tight end. Like, don't get me wrong, but he should really be looked at as kind of like a weapon. Like, he is another receiving option that you have that is like one of these top receivers. So pairing him with Justin Herbert can go a long way. Next, we are going to go six with the New York Giants, who select Romo Dunze. I like this pick. Um, I figured they would go receiver. I mean, they could also go O line, but like, I think they're really hoping Evan Neal takes a step. Which, I mean, I don't blame them. They have drafted him and Andrew Thomas, highly, and whoever is the quarterback in New York next year, whether it's Daniel Jones, a different vet, or they trade for somebody, they're going to need people to throw the ball to, and the Giants just do not have many options on the outside. Next at 7, we have Olu Fashanu for the Tennessee Titans. I think this is a great pick. I am kind of surprised that you don't go Joe Alt here. Because in my opinion, like Joe Alt has the like higher floor, like a way higher floor, and pairing Olu with Peter Skronsky, like you're building the trenches. Like I think that's kind of the plan of the new GM here in Tennessee, and I just think this is a good pick. Regardless if you went Joe Alt or you went Olu, you really can't go wrong. I just think Alt is a little bit more of the like. No athlete, no prospect is unbustable. I just think you have a less bust chance with Alt. I think Olu's still fantastic. Like I said, you can't go wrong here. So that's a great pick for the Titans. Number 8, we're going to go Dallas Turner to the Falcons. Now, here's my thing. I think the Falcons definitely should use this pick on defense. I don't think you need another weapon on offense. I think the offensive line is solid. The only other argument here I would say is like you could go get an elite corner. I don't know how high a corner is going to go this draft. They actually have a pretty good class in my opinion of corners, and I can definitely see one going top 10. But solidifying that D line with Dallas Turner, with the way the Falcons defense played this year, I think it's a solid pickup for them. And I guess it just depends on like how you have your, defensive or your edges ranked. Because for the next pick, we got Latu to the Bears, which personally, as a Bears fan, I love. I'm surprised that, at least I'm not missing him. Like, honestly, like, where the fuck is Malik Neighbors? I would take Malik Neighbors in a heartbeat at 9, but it doesn't look like I don't know where he's coming off the board yet. I'm very surprised he's dropped out of the top 10. Latu I would prefer a wide receiver here. That's just personal preference. I think an edge here is a great choice. I think Latu has one of the higher ceilings in the class for edges, but he did medically retire for 2 years before coming back to before going to UCLA. So I know the Bears typically like to avoid red flags. I mean, especially after the fucking Claypool fiasco. But pairing him with Montez Sweat would be incredible if he pans out to be like everything you think he's going to be. So very interesting pick, and definitely solidifies that line. If they get a nasty pass rusher inside, that D-line becomes very scary because Gervon Dexter, the rookie from last year, really started to step it up in the later half of the year. Number 10, we're going to go Joe Alt to the Jets. In my opinion, you can't go anywhere outside of O-line here. Like, with what you saw with the Jets this year, it was so embarrassing just seeing how putrid that offense was. And especially if you have Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles tear, you need to do every single thing you can to make sure that 40-plus-year-old man is not running for his life. Joe Alt, great pick here. All right, going to 11, we're going to go Jared Verse. I don't think it's wrong that you go D-line here. I think, if anything, like, you could reach for, like, maybe an interior O-lineman, but in my opinion, you trade back for that. Not that the Vikings O-line is bad. I think the O-line is perfect. I just think it's, like, there is places to upgrade. And defensive line, you have Danielle Hunter, who is a free agent this year. So I don't know if they're going to extend him. I don't know if they're going to let him walk. And also, let me make this very clear. This is January 22nd. The draft is 3 months away. So a lot of things could change here. Jared Verse, I think, good pick here. I think you solidify that D-line, give Brian Flores another weapon. Not a bad pick. 12, we see our first corner come off the board here. Terrion Arnold. So I haven't looked in a ton to the corner class. I have really looked into more of like the wide receivers and everything like that. Terrion Arnold, from what I understand, and which I really like this pick, like pairing with Pat Surtain, is he is not as like polished, but he is just such like a crazy athlete, and he's only a sophomore. So like what he can do and what he can become is so his ceiling is so high that it's like it puts him in front of the rest of the corners. And I know a long time ago, not a long time ago, but like before the season, like everyone was mocking like Kool-Aid McKinstry before Terrion Arnold. And I think Terrion Arnold, because of what his ceiling can be, he has moved up the draft boards. And who knows, like from what I've understand, listening to Dane Brugler and like NFL Stock Exchange, is like this guy can really impress at the combine. So I'm really interested to see kind of what happens with him and when kind of that first corner goes off the board, because I can also see Cooper DeJean going first out of that corner class. So let's go to 13. We have Las Vegas Raiders, Tulise Fuaga. Okay, so I'm going to say this. If the Bears were willing to trade back and pick up Tulise Fuaga and move him into guard and replace Nate Davis, who has had not – he went through a lot of rough stuff this year, but if they were to replace – Nate Davis with Tulise Fuaga and then draft a center later, and then you have Tevin Jenkins and Tulise Fuaga as your guards, they're nasty maulers. Nasty maulers. But I really do like this pick for the Raiders. I think, especially with Antonio Pierce being the head coach, he's kind of got that like just very like hard-nosed like football mindset, and Tulise Fuaga is a guy that has that. He's just nasty. So I love this pick for them. I think obviously like it's always talked about like defensive and offensive lines like will win you games. So, stacking up at one of the most important positions in the league, very important here. Saints, we're going to go J.C. Latham at 14. I think this is a good pick because the Saints need to fix their O-line. They have Trevor Penning, who's young and like who has not panned out really what they've hoped him to be, in my opinion. So I think just kind of taking another shot on a tackle to beef up that O-line is a smart choice here. I've heard J.C. Latham is probably the strongest guy in the class, so that's very interesting to hear. I just know that he may not be the most athletic. I could be wrong, but from my understanding, he is very, very strong. So not a bad pick by the Saints. At 15 for the Colts, we have Malik Neighbors. And it's very possible he falls to 15 because a lot of things change in 3 months. But I find it very hard to believe him falling out of the top 10 or even Rome going before him. So I love this for the Colts to pair him with Michael Pittman, because Michael Pittman's supposed to be a free agent. In my opinion, there's no way after the season he had with Gardner Minshew you let him touch free agency. A wide receiver room of Malik Neighbors, Michael Pittman Jr., and Josh Downs. Crazy. You got Alec Pierce as your wide receiver 4. Like, that is a deep receiver room for Anthony Richardson coming in to play his first full year. Love that for the Colts. At 16, we have Byron Murphy, who, from my understanding, has been moving up a lot of mock drafts that I've been seeing. He is kind of rated as the number 1 interior defensive lineman. And from my understanding, he has a crazy pass rush win rate for an interior D lineman. Like, that is very impressive. Mostly you're going to see that from edge rushers. I think it's like 19 or something. I think I may be wrong, but very, very high. And Seattle really needs to implement more depth on their D line. I think it was definitely a weakness. I mean, we saw the secondary suffer last year for Seattle, but if your front 4 isn't able to get pressure on the quarterback, it makes it harder and harder for the secondary when those receivers are running for so long. I mean, at least at some point, someone is going to break open. 17, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, T'Vondre Sweat. So 2 Texas interior D linemen going back-to-back. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have a lot to look at. Last year, I just don't know what happened. Like, offense, defense, it just seems like there was so much wrong with this team. And like with Josh Allen possibly walking, I know Josh Allen is an edge, but if you're going to lose Josh Allen, you need to add some firepower to that defensive line. I think T'Vondre Sweat is a good pick here. You have a lot of places you need to fill, so I mean, I guess you can't really go wrong. I haven't really seen T'Vondre Sweat go this high before, and I'm also surprised that like he went in front of Jerzon Newton. Just from everything I've seen, what I've read, I'm not surprised Byron Murphy went before him, but T'Vondre Sweat is a little surprising to me at 17. But I'm not a draft analyst, so I'm just going off what I've been reading and seeing and looking at. So he very well may be better. 18, Brian Thomas Jr. So Brian Thomas Jr. was the number 2 at LSU, next to Malik Neighbors, and T. Higgins is a potential free agent. Tyler Boyd is also a free agent. And my thing is, I don't know if you can bring either of them back. Tyler Boyd is getting up there in years, and T. Higgins is going to want to get paid, especially because Jamar Chase is going to have to get paid next year, I believe. They just paid Joe Burrow a bag. This pick makes a lot of sense. I don't see the Bengals going anywhere else outside of wide receiver because the wide receiver class is so deep, so they can get a good one at 18. Yeah. So going on to 19, we have the Los Angeles Rams, and they're taking Bo Nix. So here's my thing. I'm not opposed to the Rams taking a quarterback. And a lot of people will say, like, oh, no, they need this. There's a lot of spots the Rams really need to fill. Like, they're a very young team, and they're playing with not a lot of draft picks. This is their first-round pick in I don't know how long. But with that being said, I would not be opposed to them taking, like, J.J. McCarthy. Oh, God. J.J. McCarthy in the second round because they have drafted, like, undersized quarterbacks and, like, played with undersized quarterbacks. You have Wolford. They drafted Stetson Bennett. Like, they just want guys that can get on the move, right? So Bo Nix, I'm not opposed to it. I think McVay can do a lot of things for him, but I also would keep an eye on them to see if they possibly take J.J. McCarthy here or even in the second round, because I think after Daniels, you might see like one more quarterback drafted in the first, and then you see a lot go in the second and third round. All right, going to 20, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, Amarius Mims. So Amarius Mims has a lot of potential, a very high ceiling, but from my understanding has a lack of tape. The Steelers really do need to upgrade that O-line, especially with Kenny Pickett coming back next year and Mike Tomlin talking about there being a quarterback competition. So Amarius Mims makes sense for the Steelers. I could also see them going corner. I know they have Joey Porter Jr., Minkah Fitzpatrick, but I know Minkah is more of like a safety, but I think whoever you have at that quarterback position, you're going to want to beef up that line, and they have Broderick Jones, and pairing him up with another young tackle and having that line develop together, I think is a really good option for the Steelers here at 20. But I also would not be surprised if they traded back a little bit and tried to get a couple more picks and build up that line a little bit more, because there are a lot of good linemen in the second. 21, we have Jackson Powers-Johnson. With Connor Williams going into free agency, the Dolphins really do need a center, and Jackson Powers-Johnson is the center one on a lot of boards. So I don't really know if there's much to say about this pick. He played great at Oregon, and I think he fits the Dolphins well. At 22, the Eagles select Nate Wiggins. I think the Eagles have a plethora of options here, and they really need to fix that secondary. Nate Wiggins is just the cornerback that Bucky Brooks took. I don't think it's a bad option. I think really any of the top cornerbacks to Philly makes a lot of sense. So, good pick. I mean, we saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers shred their secondary. Bradbury is old. Slay is old. They need some youth at the position. Houston Texans go Troy Fontenot for tackle. They have Laramie Tunsil on the left side, and then the right side, I I'm blanking on his name, but they could use some help on the O line. I mean, the O line isn't like the worst in the league, but outside of Laramie Tunsil, I know they have like Dieter is their center. They drafted Juice Scruggs last year. Drafting a tackle in the first round to kind of solidify that line for your young quarterback, CJ Stroud, makes a lot of sense. 24, we have Tyler Guyton to the Cowboys. Tyron Smith getting older, might be leaving soon. 33 years old. Like it says here, you need to replace it. I don't really know kind of what the Cowboys do here. I mean, you could draft a cornerback, but you have Deron Bland who balled out. You're going to get Trayvon Diggs back. Not bad options. I think, you got to keep building those trenches as guys get older. So Tyler Guyton here to the Cowboys makes a lot of sense. Very surprised I have not seen Cooper DeJean come off the board. At 25, we have Green Bay taking Kool-Aid McKinstry. I mean, I think the Packers need more secondary help. Not a bad choice. I think they really can't go wrong with any of the corners they take here as long as they're beefing up that secondary. 26, we have Keon Coleman to the Buccaneers. I'm not going to lie, I don't really know if I like this pick. I love Keon Coleman, but I don't know at the end of the day if he is going to be a first-round pick. I think Troy Franklin makes sense here. I don't really know what the Bucs should do with this pick, honestly. Like, wide receiver would be nice. They paid Godwin. He's going to be there. Trey Palmer's been balling out. So maybe they feel like they need another, big man since if Mike Evans leaves. But Mike Evans still went for 1,000 yards this year. So if they were to take this and Evans left, it would be Godwin, Trey Palmer, and Keon Coleman. They have Rachaad White in the backfield. Baker Mayfield, I'm assuming, is going to get extended. I like the pick. I just think it's a little high. I like the Buccaneers, so this would be a really cool place. And he played at Florida State, so he wouldn't be going far. 27, we got Jordan Morgan, a tackle to Arizona Cardinals. They took Paris Johnson Jr. at 6 last year. Beef up that O-line. Kyler's coming off an ACL tear, played well this year, but you still don't want him getting hit a lot. You get Marvin Harrison Jr., you get a second tackle in the first round in 2 years, so you're really prioritizing building around Kyler. And my opinion is if you build around Kyler and you get all these guys really young and decide after this year you want to find a way to move on, you are setting up whoever comes into this situation nicely on offense. Buffalo Bills 28 take Cooper DeJean. Great pick. I don't really know what there is to say about this. You need more help in the secondary. Cooper DeJean is some people's CB1 on the board. So, like I said, you could go wide receiver here. Diggs, here's my thing. Troy Franklin in this offense would be nice. I actually would like Keon Coleman here more than in Tampa, but Cooper DeJean, not a bad choice here. I think you beef up the secondary, and I just think it's interesting just after seeing what happened to the Bills in the playoffs, where it's I know they can't blow up the team, but what else are you going to do? You've ran it back so many times, and I don't really know. I'm just rambling. The Bills are such a confusing team. This is an easy pick. I like it. Kansas City Chiefs take Chris Jenkins. He is the interior D lineman. He played at Michigan. I think Chris Jones is gone after this year. They need to find a replacement. And they take an interior D lineman here. I don't think there's really much question on the pick. I think it's something more of if they want a different D lineman, maybe Tavondre Sweat falls to here. 30, we're going to go to the Lions. They have Chop Robinson. So I've been seeing a lot about Chop Robinson lately that he is a super quick step right away, but he still has a lot to develop. And I've been seeing him kind of fall to second and third rounds in the mocks, early third, mid second. So it would be cool to see him paired with Aiden Hutchinson, but I just don't know the reality of him being I could definitely see him at the end of the first. Don't get me wrong, I could definitely see him there, but Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he will end up going in the first. 31 San Francisco 49ers with Quinyon Mitchell. I think this is a great pick for them. Quinyon Mitchell, from what I have been hearing, has kind of been paired with like that TJ Tampa tier, and he put up outstanding numbers. Now, he is in the MAC, so I will let you guys kind of decide for yourselves how you want to weigh that. But he did have a great year this year. And I believe he's like 6'1", 6'2", like 190. Let's see. Quinyon Mitchell. 6 feet, 196. Okay. 32 Baltimore Ravens, Braylon Trice. I mean, the Ravens have a nasty front. I don't know if Matabike is going to be back, and I think Clowney's only on a 1-year deal, so you got to beef it up as much as you can. Braylon Trice has impressed. He was at Washington. I think, honestly, I would take him before I'd take Chop Robinson. I'm kind of surprised Bucky Brooks has Chop Robinson here, but obviously, like, he knows more than I do. So, yeah, this is Bucky Brooks mock draft 1.0. Overall, I liked it. It made a lot of sense. Like, that's what I will say about this mock is like a lot of picks made sense, like position wise. Like position wise, they made a lot of sense. I don't see that many reaches. The only one that I would say, like, I am surprised Sweat went as early as he did, and I am surprised that Chop went as early as he did. But overall, solid mock. Things are going to change in the next 3 months, and this could be very, very different. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think the weirdest pick in this mock draft has been. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We're bringing you daily content, and you guys help us grow the channel. We appreciate it, and hope you guys have a good night.